Trust the Profits Breeders' Cup coverage is brought to you by PlayUp Racebook, the most horse player-friendly racebook in the industry. PlayUp Racebook is always your best bet.
Salutations and welcome, horse racing fans. I'm your host for this episode on the Trust the Profits YouTube page. I'm Matthew DeSantis. You can find me on Twitter at the handle @FailedToMenace. And joining me today are three excellent horse people, three excellent handicappers, three excellent friends. Chase Sessoms, you know him as the Wolf of Oaklawn, the host of the notorious OTB podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Sara Elbadwi from Horse Racing Nation, who does all things wonderful on Horse Racing Nation, and Kaitlin, who's the queen of all things Kentucky racing. It is wonderful for the three of you to join me today for this very silly exercise, but a great opportunity to talk about the horses that we love so much in the Distaff, the Turf, and the Classic. And so before we get to that, just a quick reminder to all of our listeners to go check out PlayUp Racebook, our sponsor of Trust the Profits. If you deposit today, you will receive a 50% bonus for up to $250. And if you also deposit $100 or more before the Breeders' Cup, you will get an additional $25 free wager. So make sure to go to PlayUp Racebook and check that out. Now, as I said, this is a very silly endeavor. I love fantasy sports. I love drafts. I merge these things together. I think this is a fun way for us to talk about these races. But before we get into the logistics of this, let's just go around. I want to kind of get a sense from each of you. How excited are you for this weekend? Or is there a particular race, particular horse you're most excited about? Chase, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts about this Breeders' Cup weekend?
I mean, if you have some races that feel like foregone conclusions where I'll probably try to beat the favorite and lose my ass. But very, very excited. I mean, I think my best Breeders' Cups always seem to happen at Keeneland. So excited to be back there. But I mean, I don't know. I like was it Stone Age in the Turf for a bomb. So I'm excited about that one.
All right, Chase giving away his draft strategy already, throwing out Stone Age horse he may be drafting beforehand. Now I know what I need to do in like the second round, just really tick him off. Sara, what is your thoughts? You've been busy with all sorts of stuff over at HRN. So how are things in Kentucky? And looks like the weather's keeping up. And what's your thoughts on this weekend?
Yeah, it's supposed to be beautiful out. So I think anybody that was concerned about the weather, you can put those concerns away. It's supposed to be warm enough too. It was nice out today for the 5 minutes of fresh air that I was able to get in between filming back to back to back to back with all of these great guests that have agreed to donate their time to Horse Racing Nation. And really thrilled to get everybody's different perspectives. I decided to do a bold venture in getting a different guest handicapper for each and every single race. And I'm excited to have all three of you at separate times talk about different races, and now to talk about the racing with all three of you right here.
Absolutely. Should be a lot of fun. And Kaitlin, how's everything going with you? And what are your thoughts? Are you going to be there at Keeneland on Friday and Saturday?
I definitely will be there. Really, really excited for it. Excited for it to be back at Keeneland. Wasn't able to make it in 2020 because of everything, obviously, that happened, but I'm excited for it to be back. It's been a while since it's been there, and it's right in my backyard. And I've been watching the Breeders' Cup for 15 years or more, and this just feels really special. There's so many good stories coming in. There's so many good horses, of course, with our Flightline and so many other really good horses. It's just, I don't know, this one just feels a lot more special than they have lately.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think, maybe some of it was the pandemic and just, the way in which we were able to watch some of these horses for a while. Some horses' maturities were a little stunted because of that. And but this feels very exciting this year. So many great storylines. We're obviously going to touch on those. So just to let all of our watchers and listeners know what exactly we're doing here today. So we are going to be engaging in a 6-round Breeders' Cup fantasy draft. So what is the purpose? The purpose is each of us will draft a quote-unquote team from the allotted fields. Now, what are the allotted fields? The allotted fields are those in the Classic, the Turf, and the Distaff. There are 29 eligible horses to be drafted. There's obviously 4 of us, 6-round draft, 24 horses are going to be drafted overall. 5 horses are going to feel a lot like me in 3rd grade gym class and just not getting picked. And that's okay. And so we'll do that. The horses don't know that we're doing this. Their feelings aren't going to be hurt at all. So it's going to be all right. But the way we ultimately are going to decide who has the best team is by using stable duel scoring. So if you've not played stable duel, it's a fantasy horse racing game, but basically you get points for where your horses finish, 60 points to the winning horse, 40 to the second, 30 to third, 20 to fourth, and 10 to fifth, with points deducted for lengths beaten. Sixth or worse, you just get negative points for lengths beaten. So the key is obviously you want to get horses that are obviously winners, but more importantly, you want to get a lot of horses that finish second and third as well. And so that is, I think, a key component of this draft strategy is there might be some horses that are very boom or bust. That's obviously a little bit risky because they could get you a huge negative point total, or they could end up getting you 60. So that's why we roll the dice there. And I went ahead and sent this video to everybody so they knew this was on the up and up, but I did a random wheel generator, and the random wheel generator really apparently does not like me very much. So ultimately, Sara is going to have the first choice. Kaitlin is going to have the second choice. Chase will draft third, and I will draft fourth. As this is a snake draft, I will then loop back around and have the first pick in the second round. So I'll be doing fourth and fifth, and we'll moving back through the order there. So
after you're not getting picked in gym class, Quip, like not getting picked by AI, like that's the deepest cut of all, I think.
It's hard, man. It's just nobody. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'm just not a favorite of anyone's right now. So this is a lot of fun. Oh, I see we have a cat joining us too. I love cats. And so Caitlin's got a friend there.
Yeah, so you might have a couple.
I love it.
Join us. This right here. This one is Zeke. I have 4. So maybe you'll see all 4 of them. Storm Cat's obviously the white whale. So maybe we'll see him. Maybe we won't. I heard him somewhere in the background. So
that's awesome. That is great. That reminds me, I remember when I was talking to Acacia Courtney Clement one time, and her cat just like kind of dive bombed into the interview. It was very fun.
It happens every time.
Very human moment. Yeah, exactly. So very fun. But so yeah, this is, like I said, a fun exercise, and we can just dive right in. So we'll go through the draft order, and I'll try to keep track of things as best I can on my end to make sure that we only draft a horse once, and that we keep track of who's been drafted and who hasn't. But when you do draft your horse, tell us a little bit about why you want to pick this horse in this spot. What has attracted you to this horse? Why do you feel confident in this particular horse and in this particular race? Again, we can choose from any one of the Distaff, the Turf, or the Classic. So there's obviously a lot of strategies you can go into that. But with that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Sara, who has our very first pick. And if you're watching this on YouTube, obviously feel free to share in the comments. We already have somebody who is letting us know that Nest should be the first overall pick. Ed apparently is not watching, or else he would say Moira is the first overall pick. But I know
that's going to say that's not Ed.
So
you just tell that didn't come from Twitter. Basically, you can tell it came from YouTube because everyone on Twitter would have been honest there.
Yes, and I'm already getting trolled as my love of simplification is already well documented. But sadly, we cannot draft simplification because he is in the dirt mile, where he will win undoubtedly, and that will be a great day for me when that happens. So Sara, I will turn things over to you. You have the first pick. Who are you taking in the first round of the draft?
Well, before I do, I just want to ask, who do you think I'm taking?
I would assume you're going to take Flightline. Kaitlin shaking her head.
No, I know Sara. She's not shameless. She's not taking Flightline.
Well, I guess you don't know me that well because you're taking Flightline. Okay, here's the thing. So I was saying to Matt, because he was letting me know that I was selected first for this draft. And I feel like the universe hasn't really been on my side lately. A lot has been going on. And then finally, Runaway Rumor won a race for the first time in over a year the other day. I said before the post position draw, Ed was like, what post do you think Flightline is going to be? And I was like, I bet it's number 4. And then it was. And then Matt told me that I had first pick in the draft. And I was like, you know what? All right. I feel like the universe is on my side. So since I predicted his post position, I got to go with Flightline first.
I love it. Well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Obviously, the 3-5 favorite in the Breeders' Cup Classic. From a stable duel standpoint, if he replicates anything close to what he did in the Pacific Classic, it is going to get you a ton of points if he kind of rolls in style. So Just out of curiosity, was that Chase? If you had gotten the first pick, was that going to be your choice?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
I put it like on the top line, knowing very well that I would have to delete it like immediately as it started. So
Yeah. And Kaitlin, now you seemed a little bit skeptical, maybe of Flightline. You have the second choice, so I'll turn things over to you. And where do you want to go with this second pick in the first round?
Oh, I'm not skeptical of Flightline. I just
okay.
Sarah and I are just so close. I'm like, she likes to do things out of the box. I feel like she's not going to take Flightline just because, but her reasoning behind it obviously makes sense. And if I was first, I would have taken Flightline, obviously.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to pick from the turf.
Okay.
And I'm going to take Mishriff.
Oh, wow. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about Mishriff, a horse with an impeccable resume for sure.
Mm-hmm. He's kind of been on the downswing a little bit, it seems like, this year, but he's ran into some tough horses. He's ran into, obviously, Baid a couple of times, Vadini, and a few others. He didn't get the ground he liked in the Arc. They were kind of thinking of maybe going to the Breeders' Cup last year, whether it be the Classic or the Turf. I think the Turf is a better spot for him. There's a lot of people that don't like him going a mile and a half, but a lot of people forget that he won last year's Dubai Shima Classic, beat Loves Only You and a few other horses that came back. Loves Only You won a Breeders' Cup race last year. Even if he's not maybe quite the caliber of horse that he is last year, I think he offers significant more value than other Euros coming in here, because I think he's going to be maybe a tad bit overlooked because his resume hasn't been as pretty this year. And I think he's faced tougher competition and had better preps than both Rebels, Romance, and Nation's Pride. And I know what this horse is capable of, so I'm going to settle on Mishriff.
Very good. That's like I said, impeccable background and has run against the very best over in Europe. Just you look through those past performances and you're just overwhelmed by the names that you see that he's run against over those years. So very good pick there in the second overall in the first round. Chase, this goes to you. Third overall pick in the first round. Who are you going to go with?
So I'm going to go with Nest.
All right.
Feels like a push button horse. It can make the lead, doesn't have to make the lead. Hot fractions, slower fractions. I think that's probably the second most likely winner of the three races that we have, and it has the ability to kind of pour it on and spread out over that field, which is going to help in scoring. So, Nest felt like the easy choice there.
Nest it is. So that is admittedly a horse that I'm thrilled somebody took, because I am not a big fan of Nest in this spot. Actually, I am fading that horse. So I was hoping I was not going to be forced into taking her.
I'm also going to be betting against the horse, but for playing by stable duel rules, it feels like the best horse to probably take.
She feels like a very safe pick. I mean, in terms of, I don't think she's going to run a bad race. I think she might get beat. So I often am a wild card in these types of drafts, because as I was explaining to Chase earlier, I'm trying to keep notes about who's being taken and, kind of be host a little bit. And then it's my turn and I like to take Creative Minister in the first round, and then just bad things tend to happen. So I'm trying to be a little bit more organized this year. And, Henry actually in the comments calls it, and I am going to go with Clairiere in the first round. This is a horse I absolutely love in the Distaff. She had been getting the better of Malafat over the summer. It seemed like she had turned the corner against what was her biggest rival at that time. Just like I said, was in such good form. Then last time out, was fractious in the gate, scraped her tongue, and had a little bit of an excuse there, I thought. And I just think this race potentially sets up really well for her. So I'm going to go with Clairiere for my first overall pick, but I get two picks. And so I am going to go with another mare, and that is going to be Warlike Goddess in the turf. Warlike Goddess is I just absolutely love her, and I think this race sets up really well for her. I'm just not overwhelmed by the American turf horses. I think while the Europeans are very good, I think some of them are a little susceptible. We'll talk about obviously a few others later. Horses like Nation's Pride, horses like Rebels Romance in that race. I like Warlike Goddess a whole lot here, and so she is going to be my pick in the first overall pick in the second round. But now we're going to loop back to Chase, and you took Nest in the first round. Who are you going to take here in the second round?
I'll go ahead and loop back to my long shot. I'm going to go with Stone Age. For scoring purposes, it's a horse that's going to be doing its running late. If you look at thoroughgraphs, it's actually really competitive with the rest of this field. And actually, I like the fact that this horse has been running on really soft turf in Europe. Now comes back and gets something a little bit firmer. It looks like it really didn't like the soft turf. I think getting the firm turf in Keeneland is actually going to upgrade this horse quite a bit.
Like it. Going with the long shot. I love that strategy of locking that in there. So I must say I remember when I picked Simplification in the Kentucky Derby draft, everybody made fun of me, and that ended up being my best horse I drafted. Actually, I think I got negative points for every other horse I drafted, but one of those things. So, Kaitlin, now it goes back around to you. Second round, your second pick. Who are you going to select here?
I'm actually going to select my top selection in the Distaff. It's not Nest and it's not Clairiere, so it's going to be Malathaat. I really like her in that race. I think her and Nest are very, very similar. I think Malathaat's just obviously a little bit more advanced based on ages. They've had similar careers. I thought Malathaat could have done well stepping up to a mile and a quarter or even a mile and a half in the Belmont Stakes should she have ran there last year. They have very similar profiles, and I think she likes Keeneland a little bit more than Nest does. So, and the number one post position doesn't really bother me that much with her. So I'm going to take Malathaat.
A very honest horse, a horse that, much like Clairiere, loves to close. There might be a little bit of speed in this Distaff with Society and Search Results up front. And so that would obviously play into those deep closers. I just remember that Ogden Phipps where Latruska and Search Results were 15 lengths clear of everybody else. And slowly but surely, Malathaat and Clairiere just grinded them down and caught them and eventually passed both of them. So it was, I like that pick. I think Malathaat, another horse that just doesn't run a bad race.
Right.
And from a stable duel standpoint, very safe selection. Sarah, it's been a while since you got to pick, so we're going to let you pick twice. So you get the last pick in the second round, first pick in the third round. Where are you going to go with these two selections?
All right, well, I guess we'll go back to the Distaff, and I'll take the only other horse that I'm really interested in and can make a case for in there, and that's Search Results. I think that she's a much better horse this year, and I think the early speed that we saw from her a couple starts back when she was going toe-to-toe with Latruska early in that Ogden Phipps, and then ended up putting Latruska away and kept going. I really do think that was the best race that we've seen from her so far. Mm-hmm. And then it's not as though she's disgraced herself since winning the Molly Pitcher, obviously against easier company, and then coming back and finishing second in the Personal Ensign. I think that there's other horses in this race that are a little bit better than she is, but I think that I know a lot of people are interested in Society, but I think that Search Results has shown repeatedly that she can have the upper hand early, and I think that if they go toe-to-toe early, I trust Search Results to survive a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Search Results in that Ogden Phipps obviously showed she can dig in even when setting an incredibly hot pace that day with Latruska up front. Latruska obviously faded very, very badly, and that's a horse I know all four of us really love. And we heard the news earlier this week that she's out of the Filly and Mare Sprint, which in some ways was a little bit of a relief to me. I kind of just hope they do right by her and, let her live her life. And so if that's on a track, so be it. But it feels like that horse is maybe done running now. But Search Results that day at the Ogden Phipps, so impressive. So absolutely agreed there. Sarah, where are you going to go with your first choice in the third round?
We're going to go back to the Classic, and I'm going to take a horse that I've liked pretty much all year, and I've used in a couple of exactas at a huge price underneath some of these top horses that were very short prices, and that's Happy Saver. I think that last time out when Rich Strike was going by him, all the drama made of Rich Strike and Hot Rod Charlie with the elbowing or the saddle slipping and then the shoes and the whole shenanigan. You do also see Rich Strike and Sonny Leon kind of brush against Happy Saver and keep him boxed in as well. So he never really got that clear run in the stretch. And other than that race where he didn't run his best, he's finished second to Flightline. He's finished second to Life is Good. He's gotten the closest to some of these horses that for a while, I know we all thought that Life is Good and Flightline were in the same league and the absolute two best that we had. And I know a lot of the Life is Good camp has emptied out after the Woodward, but he's still a good horse. And this is the one that has come closest to both of them. So this is one that I'm very interested in the Classic.
Yeah, a horse I think you and I both have made a lot of money on at just using underneath. It makes a lot of these exactas profitable when you have a heavy favorite and is always a very honest price. Last time out was the first time in his career he actually did not hit the board. This horse, especially at a 30-1, the biggest price on the morning line in the Classic, I from a betting standpoint, I would absolutely be including Happy Saver in my vertical tickets for sure in that Classic race. So Kaitlin, we're going to bounce back to you now for your third pick overall.
I was a little bit torn on which one I wanted. Sarah didn't end up taking either of them. So now when she said classic, I was like, oh, she's going to take one of them. I think I'm going to go with Epicenter.
All right.
I was a little bit torn between him and another horse, but I think this one out of all the 3-year-olds has been the most honest all year, especially at that classic distance. I think they've had him training up very well to this race. I know Steve feels good about his chances. Obviously, they have to beat Flightline, and I don't think anybody is going to do that. But I think if anybody is going to get close based off of, credentials or talent, skill, if you will, I think Life is Good is going to be more likely to fold out of Flightline and him. And I think this horse could be kind of flying there late, could be hanging around, much like Happy Saver. He won't be as good of a price, but he fits that similar profile. So I'll go ahead and I'll take Epicenter.
Absolutely.
So, am I the only one who thinks? Am I the only one who thinks that picking other horses from the classic with Flightline in it is a risky proposition? Because you could have Flightline freak, your horse finishes second, then you deduct 20 points off of it for the 20 lengths that Flightline wins by if it does what everyone tells us.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
It is, yeah. There is some strategy here, and so this is.
I thought the
knowledge
only
gift
meant if the horse was 6th or worse.
No, so every position gets deducted or added to based on the lengths beaten. But what I'll say is this is. Listen, my top choice is going to be Flightline. I'm not going to overthink this at all, but. I can absolutely see a world in which Flightline, this is the best competition he's ever run against. And I think that is without a doubt. And it's oddly the quickest he's ever had a turnaround in his career, which is absurd. That 63 days is the quickest turnaround he's ever had, but it is. The California horses, the adult California horses running at Keeneland at the Breeders' Cup don't have a stellar record necessarily. No. So there's some reasons to potentially be worried. And I think Epicenter feels like a very good choice in that he's not going to be sucked up to that close pace up front with Life is Good, potentially Hot Rod Charlie, Flightline. He's going to sit mid-pack and then he's going to go. And this is a horse that's never finished out of the exacta except for his maiden race. And so very, very, very impressive horse. So his debut race, I should say.
It's starting to irk me how much everyone loves Flightline. Like, it just feels like now, how is it going to run when it's carrying the expectations and
the weight of the world on his shoulders?
Yeah, it's a big handicap right there.
Yeah. It is. So a weight of the world is now on Chase's shoulders, though, as he has the 3rd pick in the 3rd round. Chase, where are you going to go with this last selection? Or not last, but where next selection?
Me and my jockeys all dressed in blue are going to look like a Crip gang. Go Dolphin, because that's my Dolphin. Give me Rebels Romance in the turf. I got both the Godolphin horses here. I actually had a first round grade on this one. It felt like another one that gets back to a little bit firmer turf. Also, Charlie Appleby has been winning everything that isn't nailed down in the United States when it comes to turf racing. James Doyle's up. I really like this one. I think this one probably hits the board. And also, I can really see a blanket finish in this one. So if it doesn't, I don't think it really costs me.
Makes a lot of sense. A very good horse, a horse that just kind of grinds away too, and just has a great form to him. So definitely makes a lot of sense in this spot. So now I'm up on with the kind of the 3rd and 4th round pick, and I did a pretty good job of being self-disciplined in the first 2 rounds, and things might start going haywire now because I do feel like a lot of logical choices have been taken, and I don't think there's been too many shocks at this point. There's still some very good horses on the board, and I guess it doesn't really matter which order I take these horses in. But I am going to go with Nation's Pride as my next choice. And so that's a horse I really like a lot.
The Godolphin sweet. I hate you. And I hate you.
So this is a horse. And part of the reason I like Nation's Pride is, he came over already and he's been running over here for the last 3 races and running really well. You got William Buick up on the mount, which is always trusted. William Buick actually, I want to say, has the highest winning percentage of any active jockey in Breeders' Cup races. Now that is often correlated with Charlie Appleby also having an incredibly high winning rate in Breeders' Cup races. But Nation's Pride's a horse that, I'll be honest, when he came over, I thought, this feels like Charlie Appleby's, like, I don't know, B-level horse. Like I wasn't overwhelmed. And then he ran and he was just like, oh, I'm better than all these American turf horses. And it's like, oh, all right, very good. And it feels like a horse, again, that's just not going to run a bad race in this spot. So I'm going to take Nation's Pride with the last pick in the third round. And then things get kind of weird for me because I don't know where I would necessarily want to go, if I want to dip in my foot into the Classic or not, or if I want to stick with Distaff. And it's a little bit of a boomer bust pick in the Distaff. Ultimately, I'm going to go with the Classic, I think. And I'm going to take the Bob Baffert trained Taba as my next choice in the fourth round. I think Taba, that inside rail, some people thinks it helps her, it helps him. Some people thinks it hurts him. I know Andy Serling thinks it helps the horse. The horse does not necessarily like kickback that much. So I'm a little concerned about it. But again, Life is Good and Flightline are going to go out in front. And again, horses that are a little bit further back should benefit. If Taba's leading that second flight of horses, then I definitely think this is a horse that, by all indications, is training lights out right now, is a horse that is getting progressively better. And obviously that last performance at Parks was the best one we had seen yet from him. So I'm going to go with Taba as my first pick in the fourth round. Chase, swing it over to you. Where are you going in the fourth round? You looked relieved that I didn't take anybody from the Distaff.
Yeah, I'm taking Blue Stripe. I actually think Blue Stripe's got a great chance to be just the bomb in this one. Very much the horse of now versus the horse of resume past. Like is really just stepping forward. I really like the run style. And especially at 20-1, I will probably be win betting this one, but also definitely taking it in my stable.
I like it. And you seem like, I think both of us have significantly hurt Kaitlin's potential draft picks over the last couple of picks with Nation's Pride and Blue Stripes. So, Kaitlin, where are you finally going with this pick in the fourth round?
Yeah, that was my 1 and my 1A for my next pick. I'm lukewarm kind of on Nation's Pride, but he makes a lot of sense. And I think Blue Stripe could be that potential bomb in the Superfecta. I very much like her in this spot for the exotics. I think I'm going to go back to the turf, and I think I'm going to go with Broom. Never really runs a bad race. Seems to be a different horse this year. I think he'll probably go off to stud next year, so this could be his last start. I think it's very interesting. I don't know if I like it or if I don't, that Irad Ortiz is up for Aiden O'Brien. I'll have to look. I don't know if that's the first time that Irad's ever rode for Aiden or not, but he knows how to ride well at Keeneland on the turf. Broom usually always shows up. And like Chase said, I think this race could potentially have a blanket finish. I think Broom will be there somewhere. So I don't think he's going to cost me a ton points-wise. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll take Broom.
Yeah, another horse, much like Mischief with your first-round pick, that's always kept great company, always run honest races. Great selection there. Sarah, you get the back-to-back picks here in the fourth and fifth round. So where are you going to go? Because the board is starting to get a little skimpy. Some of the big names are out. So where are you going to go?
Really quick, Irad actually rode Broom last year in the Breeders' Cup Turf when he finished second. Which I only know because I talked about this race earlier, and I was like, wait a minute, he's getting back on.
I like that even better now.
So that's a little fun tidbit if you like him. I am going to go to the turf, and this is probably the last horse that I have any serious confidence in because the pickings are slim after this. But I'm actually going to go to the rail horse and Bye Bye Melvin. Yep. This was one that I was interested in last time, getting to go all the way. Chase, what, you're happy? You're thrilled?
No. Not at all.
I was going to say that's the opposite.
That's a sarcastic slow clap.
He finally got to stretch all the way out last time, going this 1.5 mile distance. This is the half sibling to Mean Mary, who was a multiple graded stakes winner at this marathon distance on the turf. Finished second last time out to Warlike Goddess, and he has some early speed. I don't know that he'll have to go as fast early as he did last time. I know that the Keeneland turf has been playing very quickly so far this year, so I'll take a shot with Bye Bye Melvin to spice up some underneath exotics, but I don't think that he's anywhere near the likeliest winner of this race.
That horse was so game, holding, trying to hold off Warlike Goddess late in that race. Like you would have thought that Bye Bye Melvin would have faded to like 5th, 6th in that race, but just game, a lot of heart.
And
Absolutely.
for the next,
yeah, go for it.
I don't know. So say whatever you had to say.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna transition to you now that we're down to the final 8 horses, and maybe just to recap it for people watching and listening, I will kind of go over the horses that are left. So in the Distaff, we still have Society, Secret Oath, and Awake at Midnight. In the Turf, we still have Gold Phoenix, Masterpiece, Highland Chief, Red Knight, Channel Maker, and Nautilus. And in the Classic, we still have Life is Good, Rich Strike, Hot Rod Charlie, and Olympiad. So those are the horses we still have left. Kaitlin, I hope I filibustered, Sarah, I should say, I hope I filibustered enough. Where are you going to go with this first pick in the 5th round?
We'll stick with Grand Motion, and I guess I'll bookend the field, and I'll take Highland Chief.
Oh, okay. A horse that turns in some really game efforts, I think, in big spots recently. Obviously, with that Man of War victory.
I've never really liked him, but at least he has a win over the course and distance last time. And I trust that he can run a big race. I trust that he can handle the distance. I trust the class that he's been facing. I trust him enough to include him in my stable.
Yep, I like it, and I like Grand Motion. I think he's got some actually. I think he got a really nice horse on Friday that I'm interested in. So in G. Laurie in the Philly Turf that I like a lot. But I digress. Kaitlin, move to you to your 5th round pick. Where are you going to go with your second to last pick for your team?
I think I'm going to go back to the Classic. I know it's a little bit of a gamble, but I think I'm going to go with Hot Rod Charlie.
All right.
He is a horse. I love that.
Caitlin's winning the odds right now, so the live odds doing
too.
well. Yeah.
8 to 1. I like my price. I'd bet me.
The cat, yeah, exactly. The cat is in there.
I don't know where she went, but Hot Rod Charlie, he's similar to a horse kind of like Epicenter for me when I get a feel for this race. I definitely expect Flightline and Life is Good to be the first to kind of push the button. I think he's going to be right behind them. I think he's going to be, right there with them or sitting right behind them. So I think he's going to have every opportunity to run his race. He doesn't always win a lot, but he's usually a nice run along 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. I expect him to be part of this superfecta somewhere. Mm-hmm. I would think that's probably a safe choice, even though I understand, the links wise and how it is a little bit of a gamble based on the presence of Flightline, but I feel comfortable including him in my stable for similar reasons that Sarah liked Highland Chief. I don't think he's going to be disgraced in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And he runs hard. He's a fighter. I mean, he is, it's funny because in many ways he is the antithesis of his very young chic ownership group in that he is a very blue collar horse. I mean, he is he'll fight back. I mean, I kind of almost like the way that Tyler looked over at Sonny Leone after that Lucas, and you could almost feel Flightline or Hot Rod Charlie kind of look over the same way of like, what are you trying to do on me? Yeah, come on, you're not getting past me. So it was, he's a gutsy horse. I like Hot Rod Charlie a lot. So definitely a good pick, I think, this late in the draft as well, who runs a really strong race. Chase, where are you going to go with your 5th round pick?
This is honestly the only other horse that I would want in the Classic outside of Flightline, and it's Rich Strike. Yep. Let's talk about what this horse can do when you have just a epically just like Chernobyl nuclear meltdown pace up front, and that horse is going to be closing late. And I mean, if Flightline doesn't just let Life is Good go, then it's going to get really hot. Again. Yeah, I honestly think that the way the Classic could finish is a very close exacta Flightline over Rich Strike, it pace depending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. I was just talking to I think all of our friend Barry Spears earlier today, and Barry pointed out that the faster the race is at the second call, the better Rich Strike does. That is a direct 1-to-1 correlation, and it is he's going to see his fastest second call, I think, ever on Saturday in terms of what that second call split is going to be. So that is it's going to set up for him. And I'll be honest, Rich Strike has proved a lot of people wrong in that, I think a lot of us thought he was never going to even come close to duplicating what he did at the Kentucky Derby. And the fact that he's come back and run a 105, 101 buyer speed figure the last two times
gotten
out.
better.
I know he's gotten a little bit better. I mean, so he's all credit to him. I mean, he unlike Taba and Epicenter has run up against older. That's the other thing. That's what he did in the Lucas, obviously going up against Hot Rod Charlie. So that's always impressive. So love it. So I am going to be closing out my team now. So I have my final pick in the 5th round and my first pick in the 6th round. And I know what I'm going to do in the 5th round. And that is going to be a horse that I really like a lot. And I took all my self-discipline not to take her earlier. And that is to take Society in my 5th round pick. This is a boomer bust horse. Absolutely. There's no way about it. She could get me a negative 30 points or she could potentially win the Distaff and wire the field. I was there at the Cotillion for Pennsylvania Derby Day. And my God, was she impressive. She just looked so fast out of the gate. What I love that Florent Drew did that day, he let her run. I mean, he just used her speed. He didn't try to strangle out fractions. He didn't try to make sure everybody else was close. He just said, go. And she was 6-7 lengths clear of the field on the back stretch. And I just absolutely love that running style. Seems like she had a light has kind of turned on for her the last 2 times out. Asmussen has been raving about how this horse has been working out. So, she's going to be on the front end. I don't anticipate that Distaff is going to have the nuclear pace that it did last year when we saw so many horses try to go up and push that pace with Latruska among them. But we'll see what search results end up doing. I think in many ways she holds the key to the race. Does she really press or does she kind of sit calmly in second and just kind of sit off the flank or sit off, length behind of Society? But Society's a horse I like a lot. So I'm going to take her with my last pick of the 5th round. And then in the 6th round, who am I going to take? Now we're getting to a point where I don't even know who I necessarily like here. There's a huge name that's out on the board that I feel like I want to take, but I just don't know how I feel about it. And that is, but I'll probably end up taking because I just don't trust West Coast turf horses. So I'll pass upon taking Gold Phoenix. So I will take Life is Good in the Classic. We know exactly what this is another boomer bust horse. And
Ricky Bobby horse. If you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, if you're not first, you're last. We know exactly what Life is Good is going to do, which is he's going to go out and he's going to go to the lead and he's going to run. Maybe not always as fast as he can, because sometimes Irad has something to do with that, but he's going to run, that's for sure. And he's going to be up front. And, we'll see. I don't think he can get the 10 furlongs, but one of the things about that race at Maidan, if you go back and watch it, it's not as if he fell apart completely. I mean, he finished 4th in that race. And you could say that was a deep surface, and you could say that was, the travel might have impacted some things there, but it was not as terrible of a performance, I think, as we now make out in our mind. It's not like the horse faded to 8th or something like that. Hung in and still finished gamely, I thought. So I'm going to take Life is Good with my last pick. And just hope to hell it doesn't get me negative 30 points. But we'll see what happens. So, Chase, where are you going to go with your final pick?
Another horse that I feel like is just a no-brainer in this format, and that's Secret Oath. One that's going to be closing into pace. Listen, the only time that this horse has missed the trifecta recently is whenever the pace was just super slow. And I don't think you see a necessarily I think you see an honest pace. I don't think it doesn't necessarily go fast in the Distaff, but if that's the case, then yeah, Secret Oath has all the chance in the world to either hit the super, hit the try, maybe sneak into the exacta.
You're going to go with Secret Oath there. There's certainly a horse run against the boys twice, is battle tested as just about any 3-year-old filly it could possibly be. So that's where you're going to go with your final pick. Kaitlin, where are you going to go with your last selection in the 6th round?
I'm going to go back to the turf again.
All right.
Because it just feels like the most safe race, I think, that's going to have such an up-close, finish. And I'm going to go with a horse that had a little bit of trouble last time out, had to steady multiple times in his race, but he won the previous running last year. It's going to be Red Knight.
Oh,
He once runs decent at Keeneland. He beat Gufo in the race prior. He's only ran 3 times this year, and he's won twice. So I feel like he's in good form. He's only been running kind of the latter half of the year, so I think he's probably in the peak form for the year. This is one of the best years he's had as well. He's an older horse. I think he's 8. So there's a couple of 8-year-old horses actually in the turf. And it's hard to win when you're a little bit of a younger horse. It's harder for a 3-year-old to win. So that's kind of what strayed me away from Nation's Pride a little bit. But I have confidence that this horse can be somewhere close. I'm not 100% confident he can hit the trifecta, but I think he's going to finish close. He likes the mile and a half distance. He's already proven he can beat classy horses. He beat Gufo, Temple, and a few other horses at Kentucky Downs. So I feel safe taking him, that he's not going to give me a lot of negative points. So I'll take Red Knight in the turf.
I like it. I like your strategy, and I agree with you. The turf is kind of the safest of all the races. And of course, I say that. I think I only selected one horse from the turf race. So
we
again,
took
just
all.
like
You too.
Oh, do I have 2? Okay, I wasn't even looking at what my team was right now. So, Sarah, you have the final pick. The kind of Mr. Irrelevant, as they call it in the NFL draft. So what is your final pick here, the 24th horse that we draft in our fantasy draft?
Well, I'm so glad that you said that you didn't want Gold Phoenix, because that's who I'm going to take.
All right.
Only because I don't pay attention to that much West Coast racing, but I was watching Santa Anita this weekend, and I don't know what is going on in the Phil D'Amato barn, but he is winning everything at prices on the turf with the fillies, with the males. He just won the Bryan Station here at Keeneland with Belnikoff. He had Amy C. He had Rhea Moon. It was just like winner after winner after winner. It didn't matter their running style, what they had done before. The barn is just on fire right now. So I'm going to go with the hot barn and hope that this horse can run a little bit in this race.
A horse I like a lot, and that's definitely a horse that I remember watching him win that Win and You're In race, and just being so impressed. And I like him. I mean, it's just the West Coast coming east, but I do feel you're right. Like the Phil D'Amato barn is just on fire right now, and he's got a few horses that I like, throughout the weekend. So we have managed to draft all of our team, and I did my best to keep this together, and I think I have it here, so we can see our respective teams, so we can talk about how we feel about them, but I'll just run them down very quickly. So Sarah, her team includes Flightline, Search Results, Happy Saver, Bye Bye Melvin, Highland Chief, and Gold Phoenix. Caitlin's team is Mishrif, Malathat, Epicenter, Broom, Hot Rod Charlie, and Red Knight. Then Chase started off with Nest, Stone Age, Rebels Romance, Blue Stripe, Rich Strike, and Secret Oath. And then my team was Clear Air, Warlike Goddess, Nation's Pride, Taba, Society, and Life is Good. So, Sarah, we started the draft with you, so I will start with you here. How do you feel about your team?
Well, I feel really good about Flightline.
Hey, Flightline racks you up like 75 points. That's the most important thing. So
I know. And then if everybody else just runs a little bit, then I feel pretty confident with the opinion that I have on what we're going to see from Flightline. I truly do believe we're in for something special. So I'm just excited to see what he can do. And I'm going to try to hit that exacta with Happy Saver, especially if he's the longest shot in the field. I think that's kind of the way that I'm going to make Flightline pay a little bit if it happens.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about Happy Saver. I think he'll stay the highest price in the field because there's a lot of Rich Strike fans out there, and there's a lot of Hot Rod Charlie fans out there. So I feel like those two horses are going to take. I mean, their odds might not go down much because I think Flightline's going to just take a ton of money. But
they'll take the funny money.
Yes, absolutely. So, Kaitlin, your team, you went to the turf a few times here. How do you feel about your team overall?
I feel pretty good about it. The turf races are races I tend to gravitate toward more because I think they offer a lot more value in the Breeders' Cup races because, the exactas are bigger, the fields are usually bigger, and I think the Europeans are the horses that are really going to be the ones to watch in this year's Breeders' Cup, aside from Flightline, Jackie's Warrior, and Cave Rock. I think you're going to see some really special stuff from Europeans. I wish we were picking from the Filly Mare Turf and the Turf Sprint because I have some strong opinions in those races, but no, I feel good about this group. I feel good about Epicenter and Hot Rod Charlie running their respective races in the classic to where they won't have me in the negative unless something crazy happens. I think Malathot is one that absolutely will show up, and I think the 3 in the turf have every opportunity to show up. I just hope the real Mishriff shows up, because if the real Mishriff shows up, he's going to win that race. I have no doubt about it. So
as a horse racing fan, I also hope the real Mishriff shows up, because I am always impressed by that horse. Always a big fan.
He'll get the ground he wants.
He will. Thanks to the weather. You're absolutely right about that. Chase, you went to the Distaff with 3 of your selections. How do you feel about your team overall?
I actually really like it. Looking at how I graded each horse, I think I got 2 with first round grades. I've got a couple with second round grades. I don't feel like any of my horses are going to really cannibalize any of my other horses in terms of points, and then taking away points when one just runs a hole in the fucking wind. So I mean, I'm not going to say I'll probably win this thing. Probably.
Just the unabashed confidence. I love it. As for my team, I like my team a lot. The last 2 are going to decide how I end up doing. Society and Life is Good are huge swings because they could run really well and they could just completely collapse down the stretch. So but I feel like the others are all solid horses that are going to give an honest account of themselves and run good races in their respective fields. So this was a fun exercise. I enjoyed doing this. And I know we all have a lot going on, so I wanted to give all of you a chance to let the folks know, what do you have going on this week? What other content are you pushing out? Sarah, because I know you have a laundry list of things. I'll start with you. What all is HRN doing this week?
Oh man, what are we not doing? In addition to all the video content that we have coming out with a different guest handicapper for each race that we're going to be discussing, we also have some great handicapping products as well. We have the Super Screener, which is created by Mike Shuddy, who's been doing this with a proven formula for several years, and he's had a lot of success with both the Kentucky Derby, all the Breeders' Cup races, and then he also does this for a lot of weekend stakes races on a regular basis as well. He had Fire at Will last year. He hit the try in one of the suggested wagers for that race. So, I mean, Chase's beard is now making an appearance as a live long shot.
Faded at your own risk, fuckers. That's all I gotta say.
But so we have a lot of
buttered.
We don't have Chase's beard to offer. That would be a little bit beyond our budget, but we've got a lot of great stuff over at Horse Racing Nation, including some of Chase's picks that you can get access to for the Breeders' Cup. He also does some regular Belmont at the Big A and soon to be regular A picks as well that you can find on our picks.horseracing.nation.com. So plenty of content. You will never not have something to watch.
It is the absolute truth. Kaitlin, what do you have going on this week? Do you have anything else coming out? And where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, I feel kind of like a chump. I'm the only one that didn't have my Twitter handle on there. I guess I didn't get the memo. I just was kind of just short and sweet. But you can find me at Kaitlin Free on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. And you can follow along with a lot of my selections there as well. I'm going to be doing a lot of international podcasts and stuff this week talking about the Breeders' Cup. Also, maybe going to be dabbling into some of the jumps racing coming up overseas as well. That's starting up. There's a couple big races in the next couple of weeks. Some of the best horses over the fences and over the hurdles are going to be coming back and starting their seasons off. So it's going to be exciting to watch. But I'm also going to be at Churchill every day this week that the Breeders' Cup is not being run. So I'll be there, and then I'll go over to the Breeders' Cup, head over there, and then I will come back. And then I'm also thinking of doing a Twitter live to talk about the Breeders' Cup as well with some of my international friends to get some more international insight on some of those turf races. And I will be joining Sarah tomorrow as part of her big pod as well.
Awesome. And I know you are always somebody I can rely on when I'm on Twitter way too late at night. I always know you will also be on Twitter late at night talking to me about like Australian horse racing or something like that, or Japanese or Hong Kong or, Tai Shin or something. I'm like, well, I can justify continuing to watch horse racing in this case. And
I stay up all hours of the day watching racing. People always ask me, they're like, when do you have time to sleep? And it's funny, I actually sleep a lot. I like to take naps during the day. I'll take like small cat naps throughout the day. My mom's looking at me across the way. She's like, hell yeah, you like to sleep a lot. So.
Yeah, nobody needs to see that third race at Parks. You can nod off for a little bit there for a second. So Chase, you have a lot going on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. What all do you have going on this week?
Let's see. First of all, you always catch me being abrasive on Twitter at @OakLawn. I've got 2 more episodes of the Notorious OTB, my horse racing podcast, coming out later this week. My buddy Tom McNamara, Boston Tom, he's going to join me to. We're going to play through the Friday card like we're playing the BCBC. Ryan Dickey's going to be joining me Thursday. Going to play the Classic Day Pick 6. Always doing stuff with my big galoot of a friend, XFL Jim, aka the whole Buffalo. Yeah, that's it. Now I get to just focus on handicapping and not with like crazy rules. Matthew adding rules to things. So yeah,
I like making things more complicated. Yeah,
Focus in on making my sheet that I always forget to plug, but Sarah always remembers to plug for me. So thank you, Sarah. Yeah,
it's my job.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sleep now. I did not sleep last night because I had so many things to do today based off of the early draw. So I'm gonna sleep for a long ass time.
You weren't watching the Melbourne Cup?
No, I was watching Friday Night Lights for I think probably my 4th time going all the way through it. Julie Taylor is the worst, by the way. If anyone likes Julie Taylor, you're also the worst.
We are getting. I was going to see if there are any comments popping up. Julie Taylor stands out there, but no, sadly not. The obviously you can follow me on the Twitter at the handle Failed to Menace. We have a ton of stuff coming out on Trust the Profits. I too will be joining Sarah to have a discussion about one of the races on Horse Racing Nation. And I'll be doing a capping card where I give you my top pick and best value play for every race in the Breeders' Cup. And then I will also be unplugging a little bit at that point and partaking in an 8.5-hour drive from Northern Virginia to Keeneland. Just was notified about the parking situation at Keeneland, which is that it does not exist. And so figuring out how I'll actually get to Keeneland. And so we're going to cross that bridge when we get there, but it should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to be there for Friday and Saturday. If you see me, please come up and say hi. I'd love to meet you and hang out and, get you a drink and just talk the ponies with you. So look forward to it. Obviously, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you to the 3 of you for joining me on this very silly exercise. I will be keeping very close score of this, and I'll be posting who ends up being the winner. Can't wait to see who ends up coming out on top. But thank you all, and thank you all for watching, and best of luck next time you're at the track.